Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Govs on the Go Alumni Edition, a podcast featuring alumni from the College of Arts and Letters here at Austin Peay State University. My name is Dr. Buzz Hoon. I'm the Dean of the College. I'm also the host of the podcast. And today, my guest is Joe Weyant, who is a graduate from two different areas, communication and also political science. Not my college, but that's okay. Back in 1998, Joe, welcome to the podcast.
Hi there. Thank you very much, Buzz.
And we're going to talk about your life as an attorney in Nashville and all the things that you do in just a little bit. Why don't you give everybody a life update so they know what's going on? Then we're going to talk about your career.
Very good. Thanks for having me, first of all. I am presently starting my 23rd year of practicing law.
Holy cow.
I actually practiced, in downtown Clarksville first for 22 years officially. And then I moved my office up to West End up in Nashville. And, since I always traveled anyway and practiced around the state, mostly Middle Tennessee, I just felt Nashville was a nice central place to be. And some things had changed in my life. And so I felt, the move was appropriate as far as time was concerned.
Great. Well, let's begin your story at the very beginning. I always like to do that. You told me you grew up in Clarksville. Tell me a little bit about growing up and what it was like for you. What kind of things did a young Joe do?
Well, I've always been a studious person, but first of all, yes, I was raised in Clarksville. It's a little hard to find a true native of Clarksville if you're walking around downtown. I believe you and I had said that one time. At an event, we were looking around and there just weren't a lot of, native people. So sometimes I'm treated like I'm an artifact or something. People want to know more about Clarksville. But yeah, I was raised here in Clarksville and went to Montgomery Central High School, graduated there in 1992. I'm 51. Yeah, you don't have to do the math. But yeah, I was involved in, things that a future lawyer would be involved in. I won a few spelling bees, from the fifth grade up. I was always writing, and that is a passion of mine.
Okay.
I was a class favorite out at Montgomery Central. I was in the marching band, jazz band. I tried to play football, but I wasn't mean enough. And so then I ended up for a season, I think, working up in the press box as a spotter, but I felt sort of feminine doing that, I guess. And went back to just the jazz band, playing the old saxophone. But it was a great place to grow up. Clarksville was, and still is really. But made a lot of friends. Oh, and something I didn't mention to you ever, I don't think, was that I had a business from the time I was 13 until I was about 20, until I was about a freshman or sophomore at Austin Peay. It was a very, very unique name, Joe's Lawn Mowing Service.
Yeah, that's nice.
And
Two things I did. I just learned. I'm learning about you. You played an instrument, and then also this independent business person of yourself that you were, I'm sure, making money, trying to just get by.
Well, I took care of 20 yards, and I did not have a riding mower that I used. So that helped me. Helped me. Develop some good strength, obviously, and. But also more than that, the chief part of it was being able to handle money. And I am proud to say I have never had a co-signer in my life. Even when I bought my first vehicle, I was told, Joe, you can do it. So I had to start small. I didn't get the car I wanted at first. You have to work your way up to it, which we'll talk about that concept later.
Yeah. There's something about instilling work ethic in a young person and knowing the value I think it's really important. You don't realize it. I think when you're going through it, probably as a teenager, you're thinking, "Oh, why am I out here? I've got friends that are able to hang out at the pool or do other things that are fun, and I'm out here sweating and working hard and doing all this stuff." And you don't realize that it's like a personal investment in yourself that as you continue on through your career, I'm sure that's something that you're just used to hard work.
Yeah, and I had the same feeling when after college, had to go to law school, and I'm sure that we'll talk about that in a minute. But I saw other people getting out and buying houses, getting married and such. But I had 3 more years of school to go, and
Mhm.
there's that concept. I think Dave Ramsey brings it up a lot. I think it's called delayed gratification. Uh, you work hard and wait until you can get what you really want, or you have to start small and work yourself up. But it comes by the sweat of your brow, to use an old phrase. But it's just hard work. There's no replacement for hard work. I was told that as a young kid, as a teenager. You don't like hearing it, but you do see that it's true after, well, certainly when you grow up, you see it.
Yeah. And one of the people you sort of credit with impacting you as a young person was your grandfather, I think your dad's dad, right?
Yes, uh-huh.
Can you talk about the kind of influence he had on you?
Well, I mean, without question, I would say anyone that knows me knows that Art Wine, his name was Arthur, but people called him Art. Uh, they would know that he was the chief figure in my life. I mean, he was like a dad to me. I mean, I was close to my dad, but my grandparents, I was very close to them, and certainly granddad, as I called him, Art. Uh, we were there for each other, throughout many events of our lives. He lost his wife. I had to get a divorce, and we actually lived together for a while, and we were like the odd couple in a way. I don't know if people
Yeah, I
remember that
remember
show.
that.
Yeah, yeah, we do, but a lot of people wouldn't. I mean, we shared a home, and he was very close to my children too. But yeah, he was just an encourager. People ask you all the time, who was that one person that made the greatest contribution to your life? And, besides God, I'm a Christian. Besides the Lord, Art Weyant was that special person to me. And I was able to sort of return the favor. His health in his last, I would say, 2 or 3 years, and not just his health, his mind was bad. Uh, but I never missed a day going over there to see him. I had to put him in an assisted living for memory care, and then the last few months at a nursing home. I never missed a day
Yeah.
going to see him. And while he had difficulty remembering a lot of people, I mean, he never forgot old Joe. And so I was faithful to the end. There's a saying I just want to throw out here. A man named John J. Hooker, a big Tennessee politician, whoever's listening to this can look it up. But John J. Hooker, he was a great figure from Nashville, but he said something like, repay your debts of gold with gold and your debts of kindness with kindness. And, I've always tried to do that. I would prefer to pay with kindness so I can keep my gold, but, you know, I mean, you return favors in kind.
Right.
And I'm glad I was able to help Granddad. I think it gave him a lot of comfort there at the end.
Yeah, I'm sure he was glad you were there for him as well. As you said, that really reflects about his impact on you that you were willing to do that for him. In high school, was the plan always to go to college? And what were your thoughts about when you got into Austin Peay?
Well, first of all, it was always the plan to go to college. That was, Art's first rule. But it's something I wanted to do. I was raised in a time when going to college, I mean, even in the late 80s and 90s was a goal, but also something to be proud of. And yes, the goal was to always go to college, and it was always to be an attorney. Um, so I have, pretty much followed my goals.
Did you think about that in high school? I mean, and how did that come upon you that you thought, okay, this is something I might want to do? Were you good at arguing with people or with just talking in general?
People always think you have to be a person that argues well to be an attorney, but it's really not that at all. I mean, maybe that's a joke sometimes, but I think people do have that
Yeah, I think
idea.
so.
You do have to be able to speak and express your ideas. Uh, I was a great, writer in school. I've always been a great writer since I was a child. That's one gift that God gave me, for sure. But I mean, I had to work at the speaking. I mean, that gets developed as you get older. Uh, I would write things and really not want to get up and read them, to be honest, back then. But I worked at it, and I mean, as you can tell, I'm fine these days.
Worked out of the introverted area, sure.
Well, I was never introverted. I just got a little nervous when I got up there.
Okay. So you come to Austin P, and as I mentioned at the very beginning, you had two majors when you graduated, and so I'm sure political science and communication did they come at the same time? Did you move from one area into the other, and why did you choose those areas?
Well, yeah, I mean, I suppose I have two majors because I minored in business. Uh, so why did I choose that? Well, I was interested in politics, thought I was going to go into politics actually. And I sort of did. I was involved in a lot of campaigns and I seemed to know everybody back then. In fact, I have a picture of me on top of the Capitol building that I wish I could show right now. Uh, but I worked up there three different sessions on the floor of the Senate. Uh, really thought I was going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but either way, it was great preparation for law school. It seemed like everybody in the class around me went to law school, and there are several that I have practiced with. About five that were in that. There was a man named Dr. Vernon Warren, who was a big. Well, I mean, he was just larger than life. He had been over at Austin Peay, and in fact, Austin Peay and teaching was his life. Also, Dr. Canervo, David Canervo, people still know him around.
Oh yeah.
Dr. Warren passed away. Dr. Canervo is still just as great as ever.
Yes, he
But,
is.
political science, just, I really wouldn't encourage people to major in that. I hate to say this, I'm not being disrespectful, but I think that in history, you need something to go with it, or it's going to lead to something else. You need something with it. You need something more than just these theory type subjects or these, you know, black letter, just facts. Basically, you're learning a lot of facts in history and political science. But certainly the communication. Uh, Mine was in print journalism, which, is basically moot now too, unless you were writing a blog or something. Newspapers have basically fell by the wayside. But yeah, I chose those because they were good combinations. Um, and I think it prepared me well for law school.
Yeah. The writing, I'm sure, in journalism was an area that you excelled at. And so what kind of things did you do? Is it what other communication memories? What kind of things did, professors do you remember? What kind of things, how did you get involved?
Well, another professor, two of them, in fact, mean a lot to me. Not that they don't all mean something
Sure.
great to me. I mean, I'm thinking of Dr. Von Palco, uh, several people. I don't want to need, leave people out, but two that besides the two I've already mentioned. Oh yeah, Gocher. We have to mention Mike Gocher.
Oh, sure.
But the main ones were a lady named Dr. Eileen Fiolson, who was in the languages and literature, and Dr. Albert Beekes. We just lost Dr. Fi Olson. She passed away last year. Um, Dr. Beekes, I'm told I saw an alumni magazine article on him a couple of years ago where he's into skiing and such. But he was also in the languages and literature department. So of course, I had an affinity for them. I will tell you a funny story. I think that's what you want to hear on this
Yeah,
broadcast.
of course.
I was in my freshman year, and there was a program called the Heritage Program back then. I'm not sure Austin Peay still has it.
I have heard about it. Yeah, interdisciplinary program.
Right, exactly. From art, literature, all these things, philosophy. And so it broadened your thinking on many things. We were exposed to a lot of art that I never would have seen, for instance. A little bit bored with some of that, but I was also in the honors program. Dr. Folsom let me be in the honors program, even though grade wise, I was just shy of the actual, the actual requirement. Uh, but I loved that. Well, so I was in one of the heritage classes, and it was an 8 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, and it was in the Clement building and second floor, I believe. And Dr. Beekes was teaching. It was one of these interdisciplinary classes, heritage. Uh, Not quite sure what it was called, this particular one, but we had to do writing. Well, I had finished it up, my paper the night before, which is sort of Joe Weyant style. To this day, I hate to say, sometimes. Um, don't ask me what procrastination means. I'll have to tell you later, right? But the thing is, so I was scrambling to prepare this paper to hand in, and I could not find a stapler to save my life, man. I just couldn't find it. But what I did have in my pocket or the console of my car was a safety pin. And and that was how I attached the pages. So I put the safety pin on this paper, and we all passed our papers up. I mean, we still did that back in 1992. And he's straightening the stack of papers, and he's looking through them, getting them straight. Well, suddenly, I guess that shiny safety pin glistens, and he's just got to do this, and I'll never forget it. 33 years later, he holds up the paper just like this from the corner, and he says, "What the H is this?" And of course, being proud of my accomplishment, no, I wasn't. I mean, I knew exactly what he was about to say. I said, uh, Dr. Beekes, I didn't have a stapler, and he just shook his head and walked up to the desk. I guess I disappointed him, but he was like a judge, really. I mean, he commanded that sort of respect. You didn't dare step out of line. Dr. Folsom was always just very pleasant, and she was always jovial and happy. But those two people stand out. Something about those two. Uh, Later on, Harnett Hall became languages and literature main office, I believe. And it was always a thrill to have a class in that newly restored building. In my freshman year, it had actually been finished, I believe, and that I still think personally is the prettiest building on campus.
I'm speaking to you right from Harnett Hall.
Well, what's that tell you?
That's
Nothing but
exactly
the
right.
best for you, Buzz. Yeah.
That it is a very historic building, and I agree with you. It is wonderful. It's a beautiful part of campus. I'm sure it was even back in your day. And you talked a little bit about those things. I'm sure you had your group of friends that you did stuff with. Were there some friends you hung around with?
Well, sure, sure. I mean, I've always made friends easily,
Hmm.
being such a shy person. But no, I've always been an extrovert. Every time I've taken the Myers-Briggs, it always starts out with the E. Trust me. It fluctuates between ENTJ and ESTJ, I've noticed. So
Okay.
what is the S is sensing, I think. The N is nurturing. I mean, I wish they would let me have both letters, but it's right there, fluctuates. But yeah, I had friends. I was very active in the Baptist Student Union. It's called the Baptist Collegiate Ministry now. Uh, Still there, obviously. I was also active in Alpha Kappa Psi, the professional business fraternity on campus. Uh, Made my lifelong friends in those two organizations. Still to this day, talk to people that I was involved in those two groups with. Um, I didn't take the social fraternity route. I could have, but I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah,
Plenty of my friends did. I was able to observe and enjoy it through them, so to speak.
right.
But I was always active at Austin Peay. I do, as I look back, regret that I fell into the trap of being a transient student. And what I mean by that is not just did I not live on campus. I lived 3 miles from campus the entire time, um, in the family home. I had cool grandparents. They didn't care where I went as long as I told them where I was going, and
Right.
within reason. So I lived, as I said, 3 miles away, and because of that, I found it easy to go home every day. And I look back and wish that I had been a little more active with those who did reside on campus, uh, from sporting events to other things, maybe intramural sports. Uh, I went to several lectures, plays, but I just wish I'd done more. That's all. I just
Sure.
look back and think that.
No, that's a good observation. I think sometimes we don't understand in the moment because that's just the way we are as humans. Sometimes we just don't understand when until we have more perspective, just as the work ethic.
Yeah. Well, I will add this too. There was no more lonely feeling than during Christmas break when I would drive over to Austin Peay, knowing my friends were back home in some distant Tennessee county usually. There was no sadder feeling than just driving through campus the week of Christmas or the week prior or after Christmas. It was no one was there. I mean, back then, Austin Peay was a very transient campus.
Yeah.
I will say this. Most of the buildings have been replaced at Austin Peay since the 90s. And you drive through now and you have to wait sometimes. There's always something happening on campus, and it is not that transient feel that it used to be, like a little community college or something. It is not that feeling anymore. I'm proud to say that.
Yeah. I think that's pretty accurate. I think that's as Austin Peay has grown, there are more people that reside either on campus or right around campus, and it gives you that feel even for people that still are from the Clarksville, Montgomery County area that attend as you did. So when you graduated, you headed to law school and that was tell us a little bit about that journey.
Well, as I said, I had always wanted to be an attorney. Wanted to go to Duke or Vanderbilt, but hey, I didn't work hard enough, and so that's the way that goes. Uh, and I had gotten married and had a child right before I graduated, actually. And so I tried the night law school, Nashville School of Law, but I found that I couldn't do that. I mean, it was just too much. I was working in Nashville at a large law firm where I learned Nashville, wonderfully. They had me taking papers and documents to all these law firms, these big firms, to these big entertainment clients, songwriters and things that they represented. It was a great learning experience. But at night, I mean, I think it was 3 nights a week. Uh, you were supposed to be in school, and I just found it difficult to juggle all of that. And so after the first year, I just didn't have the best grades, and so I retook the LSAT, prayed about it, talked to some people about it, and I applied to two places that two places. One of them I really wanted to go, Samford. I was thinking about it about getting a Master of Divinity with it, actually, a dual degree that they offer there. And that's down in Birmingham, as you know.
Right.
And I got on the waiting list there, but it was late in the year, like March or April. Well, I had also applied to Mississippi College School of Law in Jackson, Mississippi, which is 3 hours south of Memphis. And I got right in. And, I needed to make, a decision because August is when that started. So I had about 4 months to make that decision. And the decision was made to leave my wife and young son up here, in Clarksville, and me just drive down every week and stay there all week. I had met a couple other people doing that from, I believe, over in Baton Rouge or, West Louisiana somewhere, which the school is full of those, that area's
Right.
people, the Deep South. And so the first year I rented a room in an old man's house. It was like living in your uncle's house. It was a nice little ranch house. A weekend, I found out he was a drinker. And so, I mean, I just had to put up with it. I didn't have a lot of money and they don't let you work the first year. So I got through it. I mean, he was real nice. It's just he was an older man and he enjoyed drinking. Okay. So it was a good life experience for me. But I just stayed focused on school. And the by the second year, I had put in some applications, and I was called by an attorney in a rural town, Raymond, Mississippi, that is just like Mayberry. It has a drugstore, service station, law office, and courthouse. I am telling you, it's just like Mayberry.
Holy cow.
And it's a little street. Yeah, I mean, that's all I can say. The bank's across the street, and a grocery store. That's the other thing in town. And if you drive, through there now, you'll look back and say Joe was right. It's just like Mayberry. But the point is, he had a little small town practice, and he had a little what they call a gentleman's ranch about 15 miles from there. So all of this was about 30 miles from Jackson, and he let me work for him and paid me well. I mean, the most that I had made up to that point, I guess. And then he let me live in this barn that he had on his property, which he had enclosed one side of and made a small studio apartment out of. And man, that was a lifesaver because I did not have a lot of money and I was going back home each and every week. I drove down to Jackson, Mississippi on Sunday evening, a 6 hour drive one way, stayed there all week and came back on Friday, left about 2 o'clock and got up here about 8 or 9 on Friday night just to leave again Sunday. But that was to preserve my family, just to do the best I could. I
Yeah.
guess I was sort of like a truck driver, but
Mhm.
but I knew, when I left Clarksville and I got to Erin and Waverly and Jackson, I knew every exit, still do. I mean, I can rattle the numbers off. And when I got to Memphis, maybe about 7 o'clock, in the evening, I knew I had 3 more hours in the dark going due south. And there's nothing between Memphis and Jackson, Mississippi, nothing. But I made it, and I look back on all that hard work, and I'm proud. You know,
Yeah.
I'm proud.
Yeah, there is again, it gets back into your grandfather's influence and your early time working as mowing lawns and all that stuff, and how uh, you again are investing in yourself. You and realize that it's a long play. I try to tell people sometimes you have to understand that there's not going to be that immediate gratification.
Right. And, 2 other jobs I had, by the way, was I worked at a grocery store, which I think is an all-American
Hmm.
job. We opened, actually, I opened up the Food Line on Madison Street in Clarksville that is still there. Back in 1990, it opened. So that was my first job. I was 17. And I was bagging groceries for, the local leaders. And they all got to know me. And I got, certainly years later as an attorney, Um, it was a very proud moment to talk to them and say, hey, I've made it. I've went to law school like I always told you. But a very proud moment, and you'll find this humorous, was I would work for 2 hours mowing a lady's yard, right? And I'd get $25. Well, some of those people stuck with me and they called me when I became an attorney. And those checks were much bigger than $25. I didn't do anything for less than $100. I mean, even writing a letter back then. But there was some great satisfaction with a couple of people that I had sweated in their yards
Yeah.
for a couple of years for $25, and then for them to write me a check. And the checks looked the same. That's the funny part about it. It was the same check, the same signature. I don't know why it was emblazoned in my mind, but the check for 500 was a lot better.
Yeah.
1,000, maybe 10 years later or something. So,
Yeah. That's pretty neat experience.
yes, it is.
Yeah, and so when you graduate and you after you pass the bar, I guess the question would be, why didn't you go join a large firm? Why didn't you, you see lots of people that go and say, well, they got started but you must have always been a solo attorney.
Well, I have been since 2003. I looked at that route.
Okay.
There were two firms in Clarksville that I looked at. I never called them or talked to them, but I knew of these two firms, uh, two of the biggest. And I don't know, I just felt like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do this on my own. And I had been doing a lot of things on my own, as I just told you. I mean, I took initiative and I pursued my goals. Um, and so I said, hey, I'm going to do this on my own. And so I looked at getting a lease. I mean, I passed the bar the first time, thank goodness, and looked at a lease, just saw that I could float by for a while anyway. That was when yellow pages were the big means of advertising.
Yeah.
Internet advertising hadn't really hit. Maybe 5 to 7 years later it would, but I had started my practice in the summer of 2003, and Yellow Pages didn't come out until November then. And so I first advertised in the Stewart Houston Times, which was a newspaper, for Dover and Erin. And of course, word got out, and I had a lot of business cards. I would pass them things out everywhere I went. Every time I ate lunch, and to family friends and such. Well, anyway, probably didn't make much that year, but I stayed afloat,
Yeah.
and every year got better. But yeah, once the yellow pages went out, I mean, I had to do things online, and whatever it was, I was trying it. But no, I'd always wanted to be my own man, and I guess I've stuck with that.
So what kind of areas did you specialize in? Because I think eventually you got really into contracts and probate court and you provide this really specialized service, but did you kind of, how did you get to that point?
Well, at first you have to take anything that comes in the door.
Okay.
You've heard that saying. I mean, you take whatever comes in the door. You eat what you kill. All these Southern sayings that I try to keep to a minimum personally, but I mean, I've heard them. And so, yeah, I mean, at first I was doing, I mean, if somebody wanted a deed, a will, needed a, divorce, criminal, I was doing all these things, and learning on the job, basically, I won't say flying by the seat of my pants, because I had been, well educated, well prepared. And I knew how to deal with people. Bagging groceries and mowing grass, you really do pick up a lot about people, and sometimes not the good things. You can't please some people. That's never changed in the law practice. I've had a few cause me some problems, for instance, but uh, I just stay focused on being a nice guy. But yeah, back to what you said. I don't want to get off on that tangent. I took all the cases that would come through the door. And then it sort of settles down and you realize the things you just absolutely don't like, which in my case was criminal law. I just don't really want to mess with it. I mean, I can do it. I have done it, had some good ones, that I took through, helped a lot of people, but I would rather stick with the cleaner stuff, let's say, the things I don't have to think about much later. Uh, Even though that's, getting rare too. I've probably always taken my work home with me, but I love contracts. There's a lot of thinking in that job, interpretation and theory. And then I like probate and estates, and I've gotten into tax law as well, but still doing a lot of business and contract related stuff. I also like doing land type cases, real estate boundaries, title issues. But I didn't mention, uh, sorry about this. When I first started out, I did a lot of bankruptcy.
Okay.
I don't know why I didn't mention that, but I actually had bankruptcyjoe.com for a while. But uh, I mean, that's what kept me that's what kept me alive in the practice the first 2 years for sure. Um, and people would actually come in and say this and pay me a great compliment. There were some older people that brought the yellow pages in and had it turned to my ad and said, Mr. Weyant, do you know why I called you? Or Joe, do you know why I called you? And I said, no. And they said, this is why. And they'd show me my picture. They would say, this picture, you just look so approachable. And I just knew you were the one I was supposed to call. How do you answer something like that?
Yeah.
It was such a compliment. And I said, well, thank you so much. And I hope that I can live up to that, basically.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you what the challenges of being an attorney is, Joe, because I think you've alluded to it. Some of it is just the dealing with people, and I would think that sometimes it's that you take this stuff home, and it's about like are those the things that are inherent challenges to your job?
Yes, I talk about this a lot with people. The problem, or I'm not going to say problem, the part I don't like or enjoy about practicing law is this the inability to satisfy people
Hmm.
like I used to. It seems like people are never satisfied and they're always quick to try to blame their problems on someone else. And that could be a plumber, it could be a contractor, it can be their doctor or their lawyer. And frequently, I mean, as we see in all these lawsuits against doctors and lawyers and other professional people, people are looking to people that may have a nice insurance policy because they want to get something for nothing, I guess, or blame their problems and have those, have that validated. Well, add to that nowadays, though, this feeling in the practice that other attorneys just aren't as nice as Joe was, okay, when he started. Uh, I think what has caused some of that are these lawyer shows on television and some of
Right.
these movies where it is totally unrealistic. And I don't even watch them, but I've caught, several of them. It's totally unrealistic how they conduct themselves, uh, and have any success in the practice of law. That you cannot be. I mean, it's fine to be a go-getter and aggressive, but to cut people and to insult them and to be arrogant, that is really that's something anybody who sees this and is thinking about being an attorney needs to know. That is the wrong impression that you are getting.
Hmm.
You will not be able to be successful. You for sure you'll win some cases, but you were probably going to win them on the facts, not the way you acted. You must conduct yourself. Uh, with respect, not only toward other lawyers, but judges and court personnel. They can make or break you. Um, People who treat others badly, they are marked, and people are out to get you when you act like that, and they will get you. I'm telling you, I've seen it over and over. Uh, what comes around goes around, and
Yes.
there's a saying somewhere um, that lawyers have very good memories, and people some people hold a grudge and take it very seriously. I don't do that, but I have a good memory. And I'm going to try not to let, somebody who has caused me a problem or hurt me in the past do it again. What's the saying? The first time, shame on you. The second time, shame on me if I let that happen. But that's something that I see. And, also just there are too many lawyers. Uh, and, some of them can't get good jobs. So that's something too as you look at the job market. But if you become an attorney, we are taught from well, I mean, in law school, they actually come in and tell you some very grim statistics about drinking, drugs, suicide. They let you know that what you are about to embark on is not going to be easy, and you are going to meet something called resistance. Uh, and it's a high conflict business. A lot of people are not built for that, and they find that they are not, and they get
Yeah.
into something else. Some people try to deal with it in the wrong ways, as I say, alcohol, drugs, other habits. Um, so,
So
it's serious.
it sounds very sobering, so like we're throwing cold water on it. But let me ask you to flip this around. What gives you joy about your job? What gets you out of bed every morning and gives you enjoyment?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the people like this job gives you an opportunity to help people, and not just to make a financial living, but also to help people. No one comes to an attorney when things are going perfectly. They have an issue that needs to be straightened out, and that can be something as small as asking for advice about how to write their will. Should they leave the house to the one child or to the two children equally, or can they offset that with maybe a cash gift to the other one? So I give an opinion on that. But it can also be very hard times, which is probably more common. As I said, I did a lot of bankruptcies. I did over 1,000 bankruptcies, um, and work in the bankruptcy court even to this day from time to time. But I have seen, and the first time I saw it it was really hard for me to sit there without showing emotion. It was a grown man, and some of these people I knew, but a man that I had looked up to, who had been professionally successful, comes in my office and needs to file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, where you basically wipe all your debt away. Basically, he was failing,
Mm,
and seeing grown men cry,
yeah. Love
because they're
pouring out their
losing their business, or they're losing, I've met with a lot of people who have lost their children. I mean, these are things, this person is sitting across the table from you, and they need your help. So it's always made me feel wonderful when I can, resolve such issues, or at least put a little salve on it and make things better for the
yeah.
person. I mean, you can do a lot of good things in the law too. It's not always, cleaning up messes. Sometimes people want to buy a nice piece of property, or maybe they want to adopt a child, or they are starting a new business venture. There are many great things that lawyers can do for people. Uh, we're the butt of jokes, but I think society would break down if you didn't have attorneys. And so I find value in my work. I've been able to offer just simple encouragement, without taking a dime from somebody, or maybe, direct them to the church. I've been able to make great contributions. And as I look back on the 22 years, because you're making me do it, I'm,
And thank
I'm
you for doing it.
very, well, I'm very pleased and I'm very proud sitting here right this minute, just on the things that are coming to mind that I've been able to do. I mean, I'll throw in one, for instance, this old couple had a mortgage on their home and they filed a Chapter 13 bankruptcy where you pay your debts back over the course of 3 to 5 years. Well, anyway, this certain bank filed their paperwork wrong, and the bankruptcy court, the rules are that if they don't file the paper properly, then that claim is not paid. And so I was able to do a little paperwork of my own and get it to where that second mortgage fell off their house, and that was life changing.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was not quite six figures. I think 70 or 80,000, but an old couple on a fixed income,
Yeah.
that meant the world to them. And then there was another case that comes to mind where they were suing my client. This loan shark company from down south had had loaned some money to a small company of which my client was a member. And my client, thinking that the company was on great financial footing, signed a guarantee, personal guarantee. And a few of the other members of the corporation did too. It was closely held. Well, when that note came due, the only person that seemed to have any money was my client. And the other people filed a bankruptcy. My client had family land that he wasn't about to put on the chopping block down at the bankruptcy court. And so I was able to think of a counterclaim about something that, well, a way that the finance company had handled something. And so I had a counterclaim for like $1 million itself. And I was able to settle that case. And instead of my client going, to bed every night like he had been, owing $1.4 million, he was able to settle that for $220,000 and keep his family land and, go about life. So that those two cases stand out to me sometimes.
Well, Joe, I think that what you're doing is again a reflection of your grandfather's influence on your life. You're continuing to pass along the blessings that he gave to you. And I'm so glad just to give our listeners and viewers a little perspective. You and I met almost 2 years ago. Well, maybe a year and a half ago at a candlelight ball that Austin Peay has, and we had the fun conversation that night and everything. And it's been an attempt to try to get you on the podcast since then because I really think very highly of you, and I'm glad that we've had this opportunity to talk about your career because I do think it's important that people understand, and it's a fine example of again, it goes back to work ethic, it goes back to personal investment, and a professional attitude. I think all those things are combined in what you've done so far, Joe.
Thank you. Hey, and I would add too that once a student leaves Austin Peay, they need to, maybe they don't want to be involved fully in all of these alumni events, but I think we should all be going to the candlelight ball. They have it at a very nice venue every year. They might have it in Clarksville again someday, but well, since Clarksville's getting all these nicer places now, right? But well, I mean, it's
Yeah,
true.
it's
Uh,
possible.
but up in Nashville, yeah, I mean, we always go up there and kind of live above our raising for the evening and have a good time. But I'm serious. I think all the students need to find their $150 and maybe a date and go to this, to the candlelight ball. That's the one event each year that brings people who love Austin Peay back together
That's
in
right.
one room. And yeah, that was a good evening that night. It was a great
Yeah.
evening.
Our last question, Joe, is always about what kind of recommendations you have for students. We've gleaned a little bit along the way, but anything else that you want to add about recommendations for our current students?
Well, Yes, beyond staying somewhat active with Austin Peay or as much as you can, I think try to go to a ball game, but also tell others about Austin Peay. I have always been proud of Austin Peay. That was the last place that I wanted to go when I was looking at college because I was born and raised in
Backyard.
Clarksville and didn't want to go necessarily to Austin Peay. But I was told, hey, Joe, try it for the first 2 years, get your core here. And then if you want to go to these other schools you're thinking about, fine, you can transfer out. Well, when I got into Austin Peay, I made all these friends, really found a place in my heart. I didn't want to leave, after the second year. Something I would say too is for that local student, uh, show your friends around Clarksville. That was something that I did a lot of, made a lot of friends, had a few dates, because of it. Whoever I was with, I was always able to show them things about Clarksville that they had no idea about. Uh, I could take them out in the country and show them things. There were some statues, the Wickham statues. I think
Yep.
Austin Peay, has several of those now. But they were on a country road out in Palmyra, which is west of town. And there were rumors that there was money in the concrete heads of these things, so people
Did
had
not know
shot a lot
that.
of them off. But basically, I would just say, be an ambassador for Austin Peay, but also, take your friends around and show them what Clarksville has if you're from Clarksville, because since the 90s, Clarksville is a totally different place. It still has some charm. You got to go to the Black Horse downtown. I mean, you've got to take people there,
Yep.
but Clarksville has a lot more than that. That really is I would call them institutions. Not just Johnny's, not just the Black Horse, but plenty of other places too. So basically, make friends, have a good time, but be true to your school, as I said.
Yeah. And be a good ambassador like you are, Joe. Thanks
Thanks.
for spending time on the podcast today.
Yes, sir.
And thanks to all of our listeners and viewers out there for checking us out. Make sure to continue to do so as we profile some of the outstanding alumni we have here in the College of Arts and Letters at Austin Peay State University. So until next time, stay safe, take care, and God bless.